Okay, back at it. Chapter 11, Section 3 deals with the formation of your identity and identity development. So, psychologists believe that the main task of adolescent stage is a search for your own identity, a sense of who you are and what you stand for. So, adolescents seek their identity through their beliefs, their values, and their life goals. So, to find an identity that is comfortable with them, many adolescents are going to go out, they're going to experiment with different values, different beliefs, different roles, and different relationships. The way that they behave with their friends is a lot of times real different than the way that they're going to be behaving at home with their parents and also with their siblings. Teens who do not make an identity for themselves may become confused about who they are and what they want to do with their life. They may have difficulties making commitments, and they may remain overly dependent on the opinions of others. An identity crisis occurs when a person examines his or her life choices and values and decides to make changes about those roles. So sometimes adolescents can feel overwhelmed by the choices that are before them and the decisions that they have to make. They need to, they're questioning things like how do they want to live out their teenage years? Who do they want to surround themselves with? How do they choose their friends? How do they feel about relationships and dating somebody? These are all questions that come up that they have to deal with. So, psychologist James Marcia, he said that teenage identity crisis comes from a teenager facing decisions about their future work, their moral standards, their religion, politics, and even their sexual orientation. He said that there were four categories of adolescent identity status. Okay, the first one is identity moratorium. The second is identity foreclosure. The third one is identity diffusion. And the last one is identity achievement. And what Marcia says is that adolescents don't stay in just one of those categories. They tend to move up and down, in and out, until they find out what it is that they want for their lives. So let's talk about all four of them. The first is identity moratorium. This involves an adolescent delaying making a commitment about an important question or questions that come up in their life. Again, they're delaying it, okay? So, in this category, a teenager is going to seek out other alternatives in order to forge their own identity. They may experiment with different behaviors and different personalities. They may seek out different ways of dressing, different ways of doing their hair. They may struggle to find stability in their lives, but typically they're headed in a general direction, and even if they don't know where that journey is going to end, they're on a path to get there. Now, the second category that Marcia had was called identity foreclosure. And in this, to avoid an identity crisis, teenagers make a commitment that forecloses or shuts out other possibilities. So, their commitments that they make are oftentimes based on suggestions of others, not of their own choices. They may adopt a belief system without knowing whether it's right or wrong for their own personal choice. They may follow a pattern or a model that's set by their parents, by their peers, by their teachers, or anybody in authority over them. And lastly, they may find themselves dissatisfied with the direction of their lives, and then they may switch back to the moratorium category that we just talked about. Now, the third category, okay, this is called identity diffusion. In this, adolescents tend to be always searching for meaning in their life and trying to find an identity because they haven't committed themselves to a set of beliefs or an occupational path. Do you know what you want to be the rest of your life? I changed my career probably 4 or 5 different times. Okay? So in this category, teenagers lack goals or they lack interest. They seem to live from one crisis to another. In this category, they can develop a I don't care attitude about things. And also in this category, teenagers can become very angry and very rebellious. The last category, identity achievement. Adolescents in this category have coped with a crisis and have explored other options for themselves. They've come out of it, okay? They've made decisions about important life questions for themselves, and they've achieved a feeling of well-being, self-esteem, and acceptance of who they are. They're capable of setting goals and working towards attaining the goals for themselves. Okay? We'll stop here, pick up on the last section later.